back with Create with Sweet Parakeet. Today we are going to join our squares. So I do have a tutorial to making the granny square. So you can go ahead and pause your video and make your granny squares. And then make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel to get notifications for upcoming videos. So we are going to use a slip stitch join method. There's lots of different ways that you can join your squares. Today I'm going to show you the slip stitch, which I have a Afghan that I used it on. So I'll show you the finish result. So here's my sunflower Afghan that I made. And this is the slip stitch join right in here. So as you can tell, it's kind of invisible or not really noticeable. It kind of goes with the squares if it's the same color. So today we're going to be putting two different colors together, and you'll see that it actually looks pretty cool or pretty good with even two different colors. There's a couple of techniques, details that you have to do with joining in the two different colored squares, but it's really not that difficult. So let's go ahead and get started. Before you start joining, you want to kind of lay out your squares on where they're going to be. So we're going to go diagonal and diagonal with our two color ones. If you want to do it this way and do like a line, and then more lines, you can do it that way. I'm going to kind of make like a checkered pattern, and I only have these 4 squares because we're just going to do like kind of a little sample. And we are going to be attaching along this row and then going across this row. So you want to make sure that you have all of your squares done in that row before you start joining them, because it's going to be continuous all the way down. I am going to use the, what color was this? It's like an off-white, light yellow. Let's see what color. It's a cream. That's the color. The name of the color is a cream. So it's going to be this color that matches that square. So how you begin, so we're going to work with these first two, and you are going to create a slip knot. And you're going to attach, you're going to put the loop on your hook, and I am using the same size hook that I used to make my squares. So we are actually going to go in the back loop. So as you can see on our square, we have our stitches right here, and we are going to go in just the back loop. So we have our V, we just want to do the back loop on both of them. So we set it up like so. You're going to make sure that your yarn that's coming through is underneath, and that's how it's going to be kind of invisible, so to speak. So you want to make sure that it is underneath. So in this corner I have 2 chains, so I'm going to go with the second chain because this first chain is going to go along this edge, so this one is going to go towards this side. So I'm going to insert my hook in that one, in the back loop, and then I'm going to find the corresponding chain on this one, because you're always going to use the corresponding stitches so that it matches up and you're not adding any more stitches. So you can use 2 different types of squares. Like I have a granny square, you could use a granny square and like any other granny square pattern that you have. As long as they have the same number of stitches on the sides, then you should be able to join them with no problem. So we go in here, and then we're going to find the corresponding one. So it's going to be right about here. It's going to be here. We're going to go ahead and So it's going to be, you have your loop, your first back loop of your stitch, and then your back loop of your stitch, and then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all of them. Sometimes I like to do one by one to make sure that I have all of them. And then make sure that that strand is underneath, and then you're going to go into the next one. So you're going to do, let's see if I can zoom in here. Okay, so here's our back loop. We're going to go into our back loop, and here is our next stitch. So next stitch, and we're going to go in our back loop. Going to yarn over and pull through, and pull through, and pull through. Then we're just going to continue that all the way down. Making sure that we grab the corresponding stitches. And I am, if you notice, I am grabbing the cream color stitch first, and there is a reason for that. And I'll show you when we get down, when we have to switch it the other way. But that allows it to sit really flush, and it doesn't allow the mulberry color to come up on the other side. If you flip it, it's going to have that other coloration on the back, which I actually think is kind of pretty of a pattern on the back. But on the front, it's going to be kind of like an invisible, because it's going to be just acting as part of the extension of this color square. Keep going. Through. You can also, if you want to, you can also hold them together. It might be a little less awkward, but just making sure that that strand is in between there, so it's kind of like tucked in there, so you can grab your two strands. And as you notice, I'm not going to go up through there like that. I'm going to go from the top down. And then grab it and pull it through the mulberry color, and then my cream color, and then my loop. So you're going to go from the top, making sure that that strand is underneath, from the top in that back loop. Like that. And the same thing. So I kind of like tuck my strand underneath, and like snug it in there, so that I can find my loops on the top and just pull through. This is one of my favorite joining methods just because it is kind of easy. All you need to know is the slip stitch and know where the back and the front loops are. An easy technique. It's just sometimes it's a little awkward trying to hold it. And then in our corner, so the back of our corner stitch, we're not going to go in the corner space, we're going to actually grab our stitch. Back loop, oops. And then go ahead and finish that corner. And then, so we have all the way across. See how pretty that is? So then we are going to connect our next one. So get those kind of lined up. And you're going to chain one. You're going to chain one so that you have a little extra space. You won't be able to tell the space, but it's going to allow it not to pull together. It's going to be able to lay nice and flat. So after your chain one, you're going to go ahead and find your corner stitches. Now, if you notice, when we went down this line, we found our stitch for the cream color first because we're using the cream color to attach. So we're going to do the same thing on this cream color so that we don't have our mulberry color coming up on the side of our cream color square on the top. And then this is how it looks on the back. So it actually has a really nice pattern on the back too. Go ahead and we're going to find our, so here's my corner stitch right there. I'm going to go in the back loop first on my cream color because that's the color that I'm attaching with, and then here's my stitch for my mulberry. I'm going to go in my back loop, and again just pull through, and pull through. Tuck that in, find our next loop, our next stitch, back loop. Doing our cream color first. Here's the next one. And I'm matching one on the other side. We're just going to continue that all the way down our row. So if you have two more squares to attach, go ahead and go down to the corner, do your corner, chain one, and then start your next two blocks with their corner, and then go on and continue that. And I will meet you back here once I have that done, and we can start on our attaching the other side of our blocks. Okay, so now I'm at the end, so I'm just going to fasten off. So I just chain one, and then I'm going to cut, leaving a tail so that I can weave in my end. And that is my first join. So now we're going to go ahead and work on this join. We're just going to turn, and we're going to start the same way. We're going to do our slip knot, attach it onto our hook, and we're actually going to be putting it underneath our chain one right here. So we're just going to lift this up and slide our string right underneath it. So you can see that it's underneath that. And then we are just going to do the same thing. So we're going to find our corner. So we're going to do our back loop. Oh, I almost made an oopsie. So I got to start with my cream color because I'm attaching with my cream color. So I want that one first. So we're going to find our back loop. And then our back loop. And then slip stitch through all of those. That. And then the same thing, make sure that our strand is in between or underneath our stitches. And we're going to do our cream color first, find that next stitch, and we're going to slip stitch each loop. We're going to do that all the way down until we get to the beginning of our next set of blocks or squares. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the chain 1 and we're going to continue on. So after we do our corner, we'll do our chain 1 and that is going to be over our other chain 1. So it's going to be kind of like on top of it. Continuing to slip stitch all the way down. Now if you do have one of these little knots, so this is basically where one of my squares ended, I'm just going to make sure that my stitches line up, make sure that I'm getting into the right ones. So it looks like here's my stitch right here, just before that little tie off knot from when I ended my block. And then I'm just going to make sure that I find my next one, and it's going to be right here after the knot. And if you find out that you're going to be off on your stitches, just all you have to do is just do a slip stitch to complete it all. So like let's say I have one extra mulberry one, then I can just go through the stitch that I already did with the cream color and then get that next mulberry color. When you get closer to that connecting space, it gets a little more difficult because you have your strand underneath it, but you need to pull up on it to slip stitch it. Wow. There we go. Okay, so I have just a couple more. And then I have my corner ones. And I have one more stitch here. And then I have my corner. So my corner, if you notice, I did my one corner chain on this row. So now I have my other one. It's going to be nice and snug and tight. And then here, I'm going to slip stitch. And then we're going to have that, and we're going to chain over. So we have our final. Our strand is underneath this chain 1, so we're going to chain 1 over that, give us that same leeway so it sits nice and flat, and then we're going to go ahead and do our corner stitches again, right in here. So again, we're going to start with our cream color, so on this side now, and stitch. And a slip stitch, maybe. There we go. I'm just going to go all the way down. So just continue on down with your stitch. Make sure that you have one in each one matching, and then I'll meet you back here to look at our final product. Okay, so now that we're down to the end, we are gonna just go ahead and chain 1 to fasten off. And then we're going to weave in our ends. I have my yarn needle. I'm going to weave it into the back here. So what you're going to do is you're just going to weave it back and forth in stitches a couple of times. 1, 2, and 3. I do 3 times so that it has a less chance of unraveling on me. And then I go ahead and just snip it. Go ahead and work on my other one. I do that for all 4 sides, or for as many rows as I have. I only have 4 because this is just a sample. When I weave it in, I try not to pull it too tight, because I want it to kind of just in there, not really adjusting or pulling my stitches tight. And then I go ahead and snip it. You can't even tell. And then this is how the back looks, which I mean, this is kind of pretty just the way that it is too. So if you wanted this to be the front and have that little extra, you could do that. And then here is our front, how our front looks. So we have our centerpiece, which is kind of cool. So that's where our chain 1 is. And then we have our slip stitch. So that is how you do the slip stitch join. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and hit like and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.